welcome to Uncorked, the Welsh Wine Podcast. I'm Jamie.
I'm Sara.
And I'm Angela.
So today we are going to be covering harvest.
Yes.
But before we do that, I'm just going to say our friends at Cardiff Council have decided this morning to dig up the road outside Angela's house. Not dig up the house.
Wait, what?
We're not safe.
Surprise. Yeah, special guests. A massive jackhammer across the pavement. Yeah.
So that might explain some background noise, but hopefully we'll be okay.
Yes.
Sarah, what are we drinking today?
Oh, right. So we've got a 100% Rondo wine from Llwyn Hydol. Have you had Llwyn Hydol?
I've never heard of it. Where are they based?
So it's Pwllheli, North Wales.
Nice.
It's a small family-run vineyard in Pwllheli, overlooking Eryri, Snowdonia, and Cardigan Bay. It actually looks really, really picturesque. I've never been, and I've not tried any of their wines yet. But I went on the website and had a good old look because they've got these incredible cottages that they've transformed from old coach houses, I think. And the vineyards they look down towards the harbour and the sea. It is so picturesque. I really want to go. This is going to be exactly. This is going to be a really exciting wine to try. This is the 22 vintage. They do have a sparkling rosé and another sparkling, regular white sparkling, but we're going to try the red.
Nice. Can't wait.
Yeah, and it's quite exciting because this vineyard was planted as an experiment, but they're actually thriving. So they're now planning on expanding and really pushing it forward. So we will drink this throughout,
Very cool.
and then we'll have a chat about it at the end. How does that sound?
Yeah,
Lovely.
Sounds good.
Yeah, great.
And you said it was another Rondo, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
100% Rondo.
Very good. Okay. Cool. Right. So as I said, today we're going to cover harvest. So it might be a little interrogation of Sara.
Oh God,
Our little harvester. Our own little harvester.
Well, we sent you out on a road trip again, didn't we?
Yes.
And you went and did a harvest.
I did. I went to St Hilary's. I was supervised. I had Steve with me, so I wasn't completely by myself.
You still managed to hurt yourself.
Okay, we'll talk about that later.
First of all, then, we're going to cover Wales specifically and this year's harvest. So we all know we've had a really good summer this year. So what has that meant for the Wales harvest this year?
Well, after a rain-soaked 2024, 25 has bounced back massively. We've obviously had a really hot, dry summer. Clean picking windows, which just basically means a short spell of good conditions to harvest. So the fruit is in the best condition, and then the weather also cooperates, which is really, really helpful. So we had Rob from White Castle. He reckons they're about 4 times last year's yield.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so huge.
Wow.
So, I mean, to be fair, it brings them back in line with their long-term average, but still, that's a serious turnaround. And then we've got our friends from the Dell, who have smashed their own record with around 14 tons of grapes. That's the biggest harvest to date. So just to put it into perspective, 1 ton of grapes can make around 720 bottles. So compare that to their very first vintage when they only managed to make 130 bottles of the Lleidyr, the rosé. And granted, that was due to pests. That was, birds and badgers eating their crop. But just to give you an idea of scale there, that's 14 tons. And there's even talk of reaching 2018 level quality.
I was going to ask about that because we have this higher yield this year because the weather is so good. Does that also improve the quality? Is it like quantity and quality improve this year likely, or is it too soon to tell?
No, absolutely. I mean, we don't live in a country where it's so warm that high quantity can also mean maybe jammy fruit or diluted grapes. So if we've got an increase in quantity, then we've definitely got an increase in quality. I mean, a good harvest basically means that all of the grapes get a chance to ripen properly without losing any crop to frost or weather or, any or disease, for example. So
is that the sort of thing, when people say, oh, that one was a good year, and that's the sort of thing you're talking about, is it?
Yeah, exactly. It means you end up with the ripest fruit with bright acids, gives you a chance to make some serious... I mean, I think this year we've got a really good chance to make some really serious still wines because of the ripeness of the grapes and because of the good acids in the grapes as well.
And is that true across Wales, all around?
Across Wales,
Amazing.
Across the UK. I think this is going to be the year of the stills. So instead of the year of the goat, the year of the serpent, it's going to be the year of the stills. So I think we're going to see some really incredible whites and reds coming out this year. It'll be really exciting to see.
And when will these wines be available then to drink? Or I guess it all depends on the different
Yeah.
Yeah.
It all depends on the different styles. If you're going to make a sparkling wine, it's not going to be released for a couple of years. If you're making a still wine, then it'll be released later on in the year, potentially. But yeah.
Exciting.
It is exciting.
So this year is really good. What was it about last year that made it worse for wine production?
I mean, 2024 was bleak, wasn't it? We just had relentless rain, disease as well. If it's really wet, you tend to get disease on the grapes. So it kept the bunches really small. The picking was really tricky. Across England and Wales, I think we finished on roughly 6 to 7 million bottles, which is about a third down on the long-term average.
Wow. So
the quality where fruit made it to the press was good rather than great. It was good, but volumes were really low. So that's the main difference, really, is that I think as well as having higher quantities, we're going to see some delicious wines.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
So we'll look out for a 2025 vintage then at some point.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that was the Wales harvest this year. We're going to do a little bit of a harvesting grapes 101.
Yeah, we'll give it a go.
You've obviously been to a harvest this year. You've done it in previous years. I know, Ange, you have as well.
Oh, no, I haven't.
Oh, you haven't?
No, I always meant to, but I never had a chance. I was going to do the Dell last year, and I don't think it was COVID, but I ended up really poorly, so I couldn't do it. And then this year I just didn't have the time, but I keep missing it.
Well, Sara is our expert then, in that case.
One and only. Of course, well, we knew that all along.
So yeah, Sara's going to take us through how a harvest works, when it happens, etc., etc. So
Okay, so what do you want to know?
How do vineyards decide when it's time to harvest? Because they all harvest at different times and you don't get loads of notice. Like they'll give you kind of any of the vineyards that are asking for help, they'll say it'll probably be around this time, but watch this space.
Yeah.
And then you get maybe a few days notice about when they're actually going to harvest. So how do they decide when exactly they're going to harvest the different grapes that they're growing?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because we do get a text maybe the day before saying, oh, by the way, we've moved the harvest date to tomorrow. And you're like, oh, I kind of have to work. Yeah. I'm so sorry, I can't come down. So it's the winemakers that decide when to pick the grapes, when the ripeness hits the sweet spot for the style that they want. So you're tracking 4 things. So you're measuring the sugar in bricks. This tells you the potential alcohol. You measure the acidity and pH. This can give you an indication of like freshness, stability. So white wines, or white grapes, for example, would be picked a bit earlier because you want to keep that high acidity. You want kind of fresh, crisp, bright wines. And then the last thing is the flavour and phenolic ripeness. Now, I can already see Jamie rolling his eyes at me.
The glazed over look is back.
Just like, phenolic ripeness. What are we on about now?
That's a great word. Phenolic?
Yeah, phenolic ripeness. It's kind of like...
I like that. Sounds like a post-rock album.
It does, doesn't it? Oh, if we start a band, can we call it
Phenolic Ripeness? 100%.
So it's the indication of like the structure of the wine. It's quite hard to explain, but it basically the wine would go from bitter and astringent to ripe and soft. So the sugar levels will tend to reach, especially in red grapes, you tend to get the sugar levels first and then the phenolic ripeness afterwards. So this is the bit you can't necessarily measure. You just have to like taste it.
I was going to ask that actually. Do they have like fancy kit that can measure that sort of thing, or is it just a by taste thing?
Yeah, by taste when it comes to the flavour and phenolic ripeness, there might be ways of, a lot of these wineries have like incredible labs, and there are, it's above my head, right? I did do chemistry A level, but I didn't do very well. I'm not going to lie. So for reds, you would often leave the grapes to hang longer so that they have that chance to reach phenolic ripeness. I'm going to stop saying phenolic ripeness now, I promise. So you may pick earlier or later depending on the style of wine as well, but also the variety and the site. So Solaris is an early ripening grape variety. Pinot Noir is later. We saw... The Dell had a few harvest dates, didn't they?
Mm-hmm, they did. Yeah.
White Castle, a lot of the vineyards actually this year, they, which is completely standard, but they might have, they might pick the whites first and then a few weeks later pick the reds. Okay. There's so many different factors though. So the weather is an important factor. A lot of the vineyards decided to harvest ahead of Storm Amy, was it this year?
Yes.
Because they were worried about losing not just crop, but actual vines. There were a few vines in St Hilary's that had just completely keeled over. Yeah. So, you don't want to be harvesting in the rain either because that can dilute the grapes. There's so many things that kind of... you have to think about when you're choosing the day to harvest, and it is it's so variable because you can have the perfect amount of sugars in the grapes. They could be perfectly ripe, and if say it's a really sunny day and you've left it there for a couple of extra days, you'll just lose the acidity. But then what if it's chucking it down? So this is why they're like, today's the day. We're gonna pick today. Who can come and help?
And is it usually September, October time that they're harvesting, or does it happen earlier than that?
Well, this year, a lot of the vineyards harvested much earlier, didn't they? I remember you were tracking the English vineyards, weren't you, on Instagram?
Yeah, so it was the Veraison, wasn't it, started, which is something another cool word we've learned this year.
Oh, yeah.
What's that? Again, remind me.
Like the changing of the colour, so that it's the point where the grapes reach ripeness and they start to change from like green, yellow to red, pink.
And there was a lot of celebration on various different Instagram accounts. The Veraison's here! And it was, so the colour is geeky, isn't it?
A little, but that's all right. Fine. But yeah, September, nice. October is usually the time. You can harvest later on, but I mean, come November, it's going to get so cold, and that's the thing. And it's not going to be sunny anymore. So yeah.
Actually, thinking about it, and this is my point of comparison, because the only thing I really grow are tomatoes, and like my cherry tomatoes, I picked the last of them about a week ago. Wow. They weren't that great anymore, but like they were ripened.
Yeah,
and that's wild. It's November.
Yeah, that's it.
I've usually lost my plants to blight by now.
So you went to help at a harvest, as we said, Sara. Tell us about the day, and do you literally just pick the grapes by hand, or how does it work?
It was really fun. We just drove onto the vineyard, and we got told off for parking in a residential area. He said, no, come onto the field, otherwise the locals will get angry. And I was like, imagining locals with pitchforks, get out of my parking spot. But no, it was loads of fun. They kind of gave us a brief orientation. We were all given, they're called secateurs, the harvesting scissors, or cutters, as Liz just quite simply called them. But did you know? So they have to count them. So some people actually had their own secateurs and like gloves, because this is not their first rodeo.
Wow.
And I'm there like no gloves, just like, is this appropriate attire? No.
Do I just rip them off? Or?
Yeah, it's like, is this okay? But you're not allowed to use your own. They have to count them in and out. So
really?
they have to have, if they've got, I think they had, say, 20, and they gave them out, and they have to count them back in, just in case they get lost in one of the crates and then end up in the machinery in the winery. Because they were like, it's so expensive to fix a press. Like, please make sure that you keep an eye on the secateurs.
So they're doing that because it's happened before.
Yeah,
clearly, like that's not a precaution that you take that seriously unless it's happened.
Absolutely.
Oh no.
And they had a first aid kit on hand. They told us like how to, because we were harvesting in whole bunches. Because you can, there's different ways of harvesting, but so we were just harvesting whole bunches, and she's like, please be careful because they are sharp. And everyone's like, of course we're going to be super careful. And who nicked themselves? Of course it was me. Just a teeny tiny nick, but I'm actually quite proud. It's my first wine wound.
And then you were rushed to the hospital.
Have you had your tetanus jab?
And then I used my jumper to try and stop the bleeding for a while, and then that didn't work. So I had to go and get plaster like a mook. I was like, I'm sorry, it was me. I did cut myself. But yeah, it was lovely. Just kind of, you get a bucket and you go around, and it's oddly satisfying. Just finding the right bunches and then filling up your bucket. And then throwing it in the crate at the end of the rows. It was a really lovely day.
How many buckets are you filling at a time or throughout the day?
Well, I mean, there were these kids that put us all to shame, and at one point they came up to me and said, "How many buckets have you filled up?" And I was like, "I don't know, like 2." And they were like, "We've done 9." All right. So yeah,
but you're not going to be able to drink the wine, kids.
So there. No, they did put us to shame. I don't even know. I just kind of went around and you just fill up the bucket and you throw it in the crate. Gently, sorry. We were gently throwing it in the crate.
Gently tumbling the grapes into the crate. So this was all done by hand, and is that because St Hilary is a smaller vineyard, or are there machines on bigger vineyards that they can use to harvest the grapes?
I mean, you can do. I mean, they don't use machines. I don't know anyone in Wales that does use machines because the parcels are so small, like you say. The focus is on gentle, selective harvesting. Because these machines, they literally just run through the vines and shake them until the grapes fall off. So they're really fast and efficient for big blocks. And there was an increase in machine harvesting in England, but Wales is still heavily reliant on hand harvesting. I remember Steve did ask, he was like, are we going to get a machine at some point? I was like, no.
Can I get a machine over here, please?
Please, machine. There was a drone. They did have a guy with a drone to film the entire thing. And every now and again, it was really disconcerting. Every now and again, it was like, Christ, what is that? So maybe once we have bigger vineyards, we might rely on machine harvesting, but not at the moment.
So then once all of the grapes are gently tumbled into the crates,
gently thrown,
what happens to them then?
So you just need to get them to the winery as quickly as possible, ideally within hours, definitely the same day. The goal is to minimize skin breakage, oxidation, unwanted fermentation, because as soon as the skins split, you can accidentally start fermentation. You don't want warm fruit. That's not usually an issue in Wales, but and you want to keep the queues short at the receiving bay, because imagine after all of that, you've just spent all day harvesting, you've put everything on the van, and you've driven to the winery, and then there's a queue and you have to wait.
I was going to ask about that, because there aren't many wineries in Wales, so most of the wine is produced by the same wineries, and if everyone's choosing to harvest on the same day because it's the perfect day, what happens then?
That's it. There is a queue. Luckily, I think because of even if you've got the same grapes, you tend to not harvest on the exact same day, because your grapes are going to ripen slightly differently to even your neighbouring vineyard.
Oh, okay.
So, and then your neighbouring vineyard might go to a slightly different winery as well. So you're not likely to be harvesting on exactly the same day as your neighbour who is also going to the same winery.
So speaking of harvests in Wales, would you like to hear a bit about how the Marquis of Bute's wines were harvested in the late 19th century?
Yes,
absolutely.
Please. We love the Marquis of Bute.
I mean, visual aids are terrible for a podcast, but I'm holding this really old volume of it's just a compilation of articles from Pearson's magazine, which was just a popular magazine of like science and different interests and stuff in the 19th century.
Pretty old book, that, isn't it?
It's cool, isn't it? It's all like leather bound, and the pages are all yellowed and smell kind of like tobacco.
Yeah,
it looks like you've stolen that from a museum.
It's called a library.
Well, and you have to give them back.
Yeah.
It's this big building with loads of books in.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, okay, I get it. Thank you. Moving on.
This is from the University of Leicester's library. They let you take out things like... It's wild because it is so old. You normally can't borrow things this old, but I did. So this is an article about the harvests at the only vineyard in Wales. And so we'll go into some of this in maybe another episode, but talking about the vineyard itself. But this article talks about the harvest. And so this article, I think it's from 1898.
Wow.
And it discusses the harvest at Castell which of course is where the Marquis of Bute's vineyards were planted. And apparently in most seasons, the harvest happened in the middle of October.
Yeah, that tracks.
And lasted for about 4 or 5 days, depending on the crop of grapes. Does that sound about right? Because here it sounds like you would do like one harvest per grape variety, or 1 day per grape variety. Is that about right?
I mean, St Hilary's, we did all 3 in 1 day, but they've got quite a small parcel.
That's true. Yeah.
But then the Dell, it took them a few days to get all of their grapes in. So it'd be interesting to see how many vines and like how many vines they were harvesting.
I guess it's how many vines and how many people are doing the work.
Maybe it's just one guy. Yeah. That's why it's taken 5 days. It's just Bute.
I think this might actually... I don't think that man lifted a finger.
No, it's fine. It's Pettigrew. It was Pettigrew, wasn't it?
I think this article does talk about the size of the vineyard. So again, we'll return to this. But I guess that is a deciding factor, how big the plot of land is with all the vines. Anyway, and so once the grapes are removed, they're pulped by a machine with wooden rollers and put into a large vat where they remain for 24 hours in order to get the tannins out of the skins.
Hey, fair play. He knew what he was doing. This is what you want. They're macerating. They're mushing and macerating, the technical terms.
And I'm guessing this was all then happening in Cardiff Castle, because I think we were talking about in our first episode that the grapes were brought down from Castell to Cardiff Castle.
Yeah. That's where they had their machinery.
Right.
Yeah.
And so after that 24 hours, the must is in scare quotes.
Must is liquid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the The must is run off and then put into barrels and to ferment in an underground cellar. But as soon as it leaves the press, before it goes into the barrels, the must is tested with a sacrometer. Ooh. Is that to see how sacred it is? Is this sacramental wine?
It's a sugar measure.
Oh, like saccharin.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's found that if the sacrometer finds that it's the must is deficient in sugar, they add cane sugar.
Yeah.
Then they specify cane sugar, because I think you've also mentioned that you can, what's this process called again? Chaptalization.
Oh, that came from the back of my brain. That
Take a Sara Jamie. Well done, you.
Die out.
I genuinely went blank.
Chaptalization, they did that with cane sugar, because I think, Sara, you mentioned that you could sometimes do that with juice as well, couldn't you? So
yeah,
there's a hint at what they used to do. And then once they're full, they're left sort of with the bung holes slightly placed in to allow the impurities in the must, again in scare quotes, to sort of ferment off. And then they're barreled for 3 years.
3 years is a long time for a ye olde vineyard. Fair play to them.
But that process, is that pretty much similar to today?
It's really, really similar. And I'm quite impressed that they were barreling for 3 years. It's
well, the lad didn't exactly need money. He didn't have to rush them.
Yeah, that's true. And I forget that, because cash flow is such an important factor in deciding what style of wine you're going to make. Because if you don't have a huge amount of crop, and you really want to make a sparkling wine, but you're like, but if we use all the grapes for a sparkling wine, then you're not going to see any revenue for years.
Yeah.
So he's like, throw it in for 3 years, then we'll bottle it. I'm sure it'll be fine. Like, that guy's got money.
I would love to taste that wine now.
Yeah.
Probably be vinegar now, but
that's true. Yeah.
I guess another thing that would be different between vineyards now and what Butte was doing is, I suspect he had a staff of people who he was paying to harvest, because he was the Marquis of Butte.
Sure.
But today that's not the case. Vineyards in Wales, I don't think they have their in-house teams, which are usually fairly small. So who do they turn to then to harvest grapes?
Well, they're mainly reliant on volunteers, the community, and people coming together and helping out.
Which I think is that's my understanding of it, at least harvest in general. That's the traditional way of doing it. The community comes together.
Yeah.
And there's loads of different, you get this all over the world. This isn't just in Wales, but there's loads of different traditions and rituals around harvest season, because it's a time that the community comes together and you're celebrating the bounty of the land. And so Wales has its own sort of harvest traditions that I think are kind of interesting too. Yeah.
You put that so poetically then as well. The bounty of the land.
The bounty of the land.
Yeah. Is that what was that said down in St Hilary when you were there?
Welcome to the bounty of the land.
Not bad for 10 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday.
So you've delved in a bit then into the harvest traditions, the folklore in Wales.
Yeah, it's there's some interesting things, and some of these are unique to Wales, and others, it's anywhere where you have communities that harvest things, it'll be similar. But so in Wales, we'd start to have crops harvested late summer. Well, what's the Welsh word for July?
Gorffennaf,
which translates to the end of summer.
End of summer, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that's around the time some of the first grain crops are being harvested. So crops that had been planted in the winter are being harvested around then. So things like rye, for example. And then you have other harvests happening later in the summer as well. So around August, September time. And that's crops that were planted in the spring. And so September was known as the reaping month in Wales, which sounds kind of morbid, but it's just it's like reaping as in bringing in the crops.
Yeah, reaping the rewards.
Reaping in the rewards, exactly. And so communities will come together and help various farmers and help each other bring all of the grain in, all of the various crops. And then this was sort of known as the fattest time of the year because which it sounds kind of great.
But I know that feeling. Yeah.
I associate that more with Christmas, but this is just when you have all of the produce, you have all of the fruits, all of the veg, all the ones that grow in Wales, at least. And so it's a time of celebration, but also a time of communities coming together. So you would have things like a harvest feast at the end of it. So is this something that you found when you were harvesting the grapes, that there would be some sort of meal afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, we had a tea and coffee and Welsh cake break, but then afterwards we had soup and bread from the local bakery and a cheese board and wine and their lovely organic apple juice. And Liz did say, like, please eat the food. Please, we have cooked. We've got all these things for you. Lovely. You must eat. And it was lovely.
And I know with the Dell, if you're harvesting, they'll ask you if you have any dietary requirements because they'll do like I think sometimes they'll do like a big roast or a big pot of something to share with everyone. And I mean, on the one hand, it just seems like a courtesy. You have volunteers coming out to help you do fairly hard work. But this is tying back hundreds of years because this is exactly what you would do at the end of the harvest. You would have usually, an elaborate feast where you'd enjoy some of that bounty and say thank you to everyone for helping out. But there's also shenanigans that go on around this as well, because in Wales, these feasts, the festival would be essentially like a wake, and it would be known as a Gwyl Mabsant.
Okay.
And so that is usually understood to translate into like a Saint's Day celebration, so the parish saint. But odds are it had nothing to do with the parish saint, because most of these festivals happen in July and August. So they're actually tied more to the harvest as opposed to a patron saint. And you would have games, you'd have wrestling, you'd have drinking in the churchyard, you'd have plays and interludes, and getting up to all sorts of shenanigans. And this might sound like we're talking like medieval and pre-Reformation, but actually most of the evidence of this in Wales is like the 18th century.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's relatively modern. It dies out in the 19th century, which may or may not have had to do with the rise of the evangelical revival and things like that. It likely had something to do with that, but there are probably other things going on with changes in communities. But it was a time to have just a big, roaring party, and you end up with people getting drunk and fighting each other and then ending up in court or the next day. So there's like spikes in prosecutions. But there's one tradition in particular. It's the harvest mare. It has nothing to do with actually horses. It's when I first read about this, I'm like, oh, is that like the Mari Lloyd? Yeah. It's not. It's a gaseg vedi, or the harvest mare. And what this is it's actually just a little braid or plate of the last bit of corn that's harvested from the year. So like a wheat sheaf or something like that. And it's braided into this elaborate little knot, and they're quite pretty. It's this little folk tradition of just braided wheat into this elaborate ornament thing. And whoever was responsible for cutting down that last piece of wheat would be charged with taking this agaseg vedi and running into a house with it. And other people would try and drench the wheat, this little agaseg vedi. And if the bloke running with it was able to get into the house without it getting wet, he would become the hero of the harvest feast.
Wow.
So he's being chased with water balloons and
probably more buckets of water. Yeah, exactly. And then he'd become the hero of the feast. And that sort of ties into like carnivalesque ideas going back hundreds of years with like the Lord of Misrule around certain festivities, where you'd have someone who wasn't really in a position of power who all of a sudden became the Lord of the festival, and hilarity ensues. And there's different versions of this that you find all over Wales, but yeah, basically harvest was a time of community coming together, helping to bring in all the resources for the rest of the year, and just having a great party and a great piss up. So it wasn't wine, but there's similarities there. And I kind of love that callback to past traditions, where just even volunteers coming together and then getting a big old meal at the end. I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And actually, if you want to go on Instagram and hunt down some of our Welsh vineyard friends, they always post some great stuff, don't they, from harvest?
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's really nice. Okay, so going back to the volunteers then, who was there when you went down?
Oh, there were loads of people. Met some people from the food and drink industry, some people that I already know, some people that I met for the first time. Lots of local volunteers, friends and family of Liz and Pete. I met someone who actually has a nearby vineyard as well. They're quite young. So
they were helping out.
Yeah. So like a nice mixture of people who just care about the community and care about helping, and it was really nice and really wholesome. And I actually spoke to a few people and shoved a microphone in their face. It took me such a long time to pluck up the courage. This is why you do this, Jamie. Like I don't like going up to people and saying, "Can you do an interview with me?" Yeah. So I hung around by the kitchen until someone had finished their soup, and then I was like, "Now that you've stopped eating your soup," and I think I opened with this might sound like a strange question, but it's not. And they were like, well, we're already expecting something weird. So yeah, do you want to hear some of the people?
Brill.
So I'm Shane Davis-Nilsson. I'm the chef and owner of Nordic Kitchen Pop-Up in Cardiff and Swansea.
So why are you here today helping with the harvest?
I just wanted to see a bit more, like working in hospitality. I think it's important to see, all aspects of everything. That includes the beverage side of things, and to see, the work that goes into making something that can potentially make or break food. I think that's something pretty special that needs to be done.
You work on a farm as well?
Yeah, part-time, with over 700 sheep before we did lambing. Now after lambing, it's pretty much doubled. We've sold a couple off. But again, the whole seeing everything from farm to table, I think it's really important for us chefs to see and for people to understand, the work that goes into it.
St Hilary Vineyard is part of the local community, and the village of St Hilary always seem to help each other out. And it's a good day to get out in the fresh air and to help get the harvest in. And it's been completed in very good time this morning.
Yeah, a few hours.
I'd say about less than 3 hours and the whole harvest has been picked.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great effort by all concerned.
Yeah.
So I'm Rhys Prida. I work at Hickman's Bar and Restaurant in Penarth. And I guess for me, it's so important to see the whole process of something. I've always been really interested in wine, especially how that then relates to food, and how you can take the process of winemaking and sort of understand that in a food aspect as well. You can see what the grapes are like, how they're harvested, bring that into your produce if you're looking at using wines in your sauces, all of that sort of stuff. And then also wine pairings when it comes to dishes are such an important thing that it is one of the things that it will make a dish or it'll break a dish, and understanding that from the very beginning of a process to the end is a fantastic thing, and it's something that I think we could all do more of, especially in the culinary world, where we understand the whole process of what's put into everything that we're doing.
That was a really nice mix of people there.
Yeah, it was really nice to meet some new people and get their take on why they were there.
Yeah, so you went from basically community guys through to professional chefs who wanted to understand the process of winemaking.
Yeah, and they just see the importance of seeing. I like the words farm to table. I do like that, like buzzwords.
Yeah.
Farm to table. Understanding the process from the beginning to the end, and actually relating wine to food as well. It's not, I think people do focus a lot on food quite often and forget that wine is, especially local wine. Why focus on local produce and making food with Welsh this, that and the other, and then not think to pair it with Welsh wine. So I thought it was really great.
Yeah, fantastic. And presumably Liz has a relationship with those chefs through the hospitality world, or...
Yeah, I think they've done tastings in some of the restaurants, and they might sell wines there as well. Maybe they're friends on Insta. Liz is quite
she is. Yeah.
quite good on the Instagram, isn't she?
Yeah, she's my best friend on Instagram.
Is she?
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of Liz, how did she find the harvest this year? How did it go?
Well, I actually had a quick chat with her, so we can hear from her yourself.
Wow.
Great.
Liz, I've had so much fun today on the harvest. How has it been? Are you pleased with how it's gone?
I'm relatively pleased. It's been a strange year because the weather's been lovely, but because it was dry, actually the grapes maybe didn't grow quite as much. They didn't swell as much as they would have done. So a little bit disappointed with the amount of Chardonnay because I was really hoping to make a still white wine this year. But the Pinot Meunier absolutely grew its little socks off, and probably double the amount of Pinot Meunier to the other two. So the Pinot Noir grapes are beautiful. Still small quantities, but the vineyard's very young, so can't be too disappointed. And next year, something different, but we don't know yet what we're going to make. That'll depend a lot on our conversations with the winemaker this afternoon. So we're off to see Dave at Mountain Wine People Mountain People Wine this afternoon, and we'll actually talk through the crop and make our decisions about whether we're whole bunch pressing or macerating. That'll be white or pink then.
So who are the volunteers that you've had today?
Well, we had a right bunch of strange people. No, we didn't. We had lovely people, a real mixture of people, friends from the village, people who volunteered with us for the last 3 years, just locals who've seen it on Facebook and come and joined us, plus a few of our contacts in the trade. So we, of course, had yourself and Steve. We had Caitlin and Francis from Mura Restaurant and Wicked Wine Lady, and we also had Shane Nielsen, the Nordic chef, and Reese from Hickman's in Barry, the chef at Hickman's in Barry, just coming out to see what happens in the vineyard and get more of a feel for how our wine grows and what it ends up like. And at the moment they're feasting themselves on food, but they're finishing off with a really nice Welsh cake recipe that is from the Welsh kitchen, and really pleased with that. It's an extra thing to do with the apples.
I think the nice thing as well, while you're listening to those clips, is you can hear everyone in the background having a really nice time eating soup and cheese and drinking apple juice or wine. So it really shows, doesn't it?
Yeah, that is so nice. So we've actually seen the whole process through with St Hilary's in a way.
Oh yeah, I
haven't
guess we have. Yeah,
because you and I took Bryn down there, and we had a nice day. And that was sort of early on in the growing season, wasn't it? So they were teeny little grapes, doing their best.
Couldn't even see their socks yet. They were too small for their socks.
And then Sara finished the process and went there and cut them apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's really cool.
Cut them apart.
I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
slaughtered them.
Reaped them.
Yeah, took them down the abattoir.
Collected.
Yeah. So we've seen the whole process through with St Hilary, and I think we've got to know Liz quite well actually, haven't we? And we had a lovely day. You had a lovely day.
Yes.
And they even came in and had a chat with you recently, didn't they?
Yeah, they dropped off some wine, and I was asking about the process because the grapes are in the winery currently, and so they're working out what style of wine to make. So they're doing all the measuring and checking out the acid and the sugar levels and stuff. So it sounds like they might make a sparkling wine.
Oh,
but, I'm not sure yet. So it'll be really interesting.
He's going to get his sparkling wine then.
He's probably going to get a sparkling wine. There, I think. There's no Chardonnay. Oh. Unfortunately, we did say give him some Chardonnay. But yeah, so we'll see. Watch the space.
Great.
Cool.
Okay, so we're down to the good bit, the tasting of the wine. It's a Llwynhidol Rondo 2022.
So what do you guys think of this one? It's got, Rondo is always quite dark in colour, isn't it?
Yeah, it's dark in colour, but it tastes really fresh to me.
It's quite light.
Yeah, it tastes a lot lighter than it looks. Because I think it's only 11%.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really,
which is pretty standard
for
breakfast wine.
This is the way the wine does explain things. Like, yeah, it tastes like a breakfast wine, but usually a wine that looks this dark, it's like, oh, that might give me a headache. But this doesn't taste like a headache, does it?
It's quite tart, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's very tart. That.
Yeah, in a refreshing breakfast kind of way.
Yeah.
Like red plum.
Yeah.
It's quite plummy. It's quite soft on the palate, actually. It's nice. It's not too tannic.
Not at all.
No, there's no tan in there at all, is there?
No, really nice black fruits, but it's black. It smells like black fruits, but it tastes like slightly tart, doesn't it? Which is really nice.
Yeah, it's easy drinking.
But this would be the kind of wine. I mean, you could serve this chilled, couldn't you?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Actually, yeah.
You could have this as a nice summery kind of red wine.
That's perfect. This would be a really nice chilled red.
Good with charcuterie, soft cheeses. I'm thinking.
Yeah,
like pair that
blue
with
cheese maybe.
And perfect timing, just as soon as we want to go like kind of quiet to taste the wine, the lads outside with the angle grinder and the jackhammer are going at it on the paper. It's a Sunday morning.
I know. Some of us are trying to podcast, for God's sake.
Today is not a day of rest for Cardiff Council. But
some of us are trying to drink wine at 10:30 in the morning.
Can we please go outside and shout that at them?
Holding our wine.
Yeah.
All three of us with a glass of wine, me with cans. We're trying to drink wine and podcast.
By cans, Sara was referring to the headphones, not like tinnies.
Not cans of beer.
Right. Well, given the noise, should we wrap up?
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
So we hope you enjoyed this latest episode on Harvest. Any questions, of course, contact us on Instagram. Please do follow us on Instagram, Uncorked Welsh Wine. And we shall speak to you next time.
Iechyd da.